Well, it certainly took me a while, but I finally have virtual reality in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Does this help to get us even closer to the ultimate helicopter simulation experience? In a word, yes, it does. So I'm making this video of my first impressions with VR, why it's helpful, what the very first flight in a Pimax Crystal Light headset feels like, and some of my experiences of getting used to the VR effect and overcoming some technical hurdles to enjoy an incredible flying sensation. So let's get on with it and let's fly. And I'm starting this video in 2D, the traditional 2 dimensions with my flat screen that I've been using all along. And here is a problem that we find, a very common problem when we approach the helipad here on top of the tower in Chiba. And it's about this depth judgment about here. It's really easy to fall short of forward momentum. And you end up kind of, maybe I'm faking here a little bit, but you end up with this kind of situation right now, where we've lost our forward momentum, and now we're in a situation where I'm having to pitch forward and get it all sort of established again and nice and balanced. And it's just because with the 2-dimensional screen, you don't get that 3D depth perception in the middle of your gaze. And here's the second issue with 2D. As sharp and beautiful as this looks, is that you don't necessarily get a great sense of how high you are when you're at about this point here. How many feet off the ground am I? I can see my shadow there, that helps me a bit. I'm just kind of wafting it down here. And sometimes at this point, there it is there. You end up going backwards instead of down. And it only happened in the last half a foot probably, so it didn't cause a big problem there. But that's just a really quick insight on to the common problems of dealing with 2 dimensions in flight simulation, as enjoyable and beautiful as this looks. And here is that same scene in glorious 3 dimensions. Well, it is for me because I've got the Pimax Crystal Light headset on. This is a loaned unit that's come from Pimax to me, and this is not a paid video, I should mention. You do get a coupon code that you can use for a small discount if you are thinking of purchasing a Crystal Light or a Crystal Super, and if you were to follow that route, then I might earn a small commission from that. No obligation for you to do so, although it might be very beneficial to me on the channel, so I would thank you for that if that were of interest to you. So let's start to plan this approach. I'm going quite fast, so I'm going to pitch up with the cyclic. That will slow my rate down onto the pad. Now I use the collective in this mode to control my vertical progress, and I've just lost maybe a bit too much speed there, making it up now with the collective, and this is looking pretty good. So what I'm getting here that I wasn't getting before is a lot more information going into my brain thanks to the 3 dimensions that I get with my stereoscopic vision here in the Pimax Crystal Light. And I can just sort of guide it down onto the pad, using my eyes to look down there. And just adding a little bit of, I'm not quite centered, let's come over here a bit. There we go. Better, better, better. Gently down on the collective to let us settle naturally down on the pad. Beautiful. Oh, look at that. Look, there's always room for improvement on any approach, but I'll take that for now. And here is the box from Pimax. Now, this video is not going to be a full review. I'm going to wait for, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks to get a chance to live, as it were, with this headset for a bit longer. There's all the gear in the box. Here it is outside of the box, and look, the Pimax Crystal Light's always had a reputation as being a big unit. Interestingly, here in the hand, it somehow does not seem quite as big as what I anticipated. I had no trouble sizing it onto the head and got a nice snug fit, so everything sort of feels reasonably comfortable for me initially. So anyway, let's get in and relive my very first flight experience with this. I have got into Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 in virtual reality, and I'm recording for you. It's a big day, a really big day. This is Hamilton Island, payware scenery by Oz Scene, and I thought a nice suitable terrain to explore VR. We've got some bespoke scenery here when I look around at some of the airport assets, some static helicopters here. And we've got some wide open space and some open ocean as well. Let's get into the Cabri to take this further. Well, welcome aboard. I had to be careful not to move around too much when I talk. I'm a reasonably expressive person, so I move around a lot. So I'm trying to use my eyes to look around, and look at it. I'm actually incredibly thrilled to be able to look around in 3 dimensions at last. So now it's going to be a bit hard with my microphone, so I'm probably getting... I can't see my microphone, so it's a bit hard for me to see what might be going on here, but I look at details like there's a little bit of grime on the passenger window just in front of the nose of the neighbouring R44, and that helps to emphasize the dimensionality, the 3-dimensionality at last inside Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Wow. Whew. So, how's it feeling? Well, I feel like I am sitting a bit taller than usual. Looking down, the Cabri's a small machine, and you know, we're not really high off the ground. Probably less high off the ground than if I was actually standing up on the ground, really. The Cabri's a small helicopter. However, I feel higher up than what I usually do in the simulator in 2 dimensions. I can just slide left to right like this, and I can see the dimensions moving here inside the instruments, especially the artificial horizon. So much detail inside there. Wow, did I just knock the headphone a moment ago? Sorry. It's going to be a bit of a risk in VR. That looks stunning. My overall impression is the image quality is a little bit blue in tint. So I think the Pimax Play app allows me some opportunity to modify that. Something else I have to admit to you, I have now had the headset in my possession for about 8 hours. So an hour of that was probably just getting it plugged in, getting the firmware updated, making sure it was connected with Windows. Another hour was probably trying to get the OBS settings right so that I can record this for you and talk and get all of that working correctly. Another hour was trying to figure out why I was getting a crash in Sim Update 4 Beta. I'll maybe talk about that later when I've got a bit more knowledge about it. Another hour on a call with a good friend, hello Stu, who was helping me get some things sorted out here in my settings. I've achieved about 40 frames a second. Most of the settings are sort of, at the moment, a bit medium or low. Or, you know, when we're dealing with things like FSR, you know, more in the realm of balance more than quality. But I think I'm okay with for instance, the LCD display there in the Cabri. That's looking reasonably okay right now. I see a little bit of pixelation in the fringes of the trees on the horizon of the hill, as it were. A little bit of pixelization, or is it just anti-aliasing, in the sort of the cross member on the distant fence there at the other side of the apron. And in fine detail, like there's a sort of a gantry in the hangar above the parked helicopter there. There is like a fine mesh, I think, and that's a little bit pixely looking at it like this. I'm getting into reasonably fine detail now. Wow. Just looking around, it's quite something. It's finally in VR for the first time. I feel like I'm in the scene. Maybe something I don't really feel in a 2-dimensional flat screen as much. I'm here. Look at that paintwork, the blue lines, helicopter only, thank you. So I'm going to try and do a quick little pickup and a quick little hover taxi, and we'll just see how we go here. So I've got a headwind here coming from the east. It's about 11, 12, 13 knots. And so it's time. I need to get that stick forward, get the stick forward, And get a bit of right deflection on that cyclic and a bit of right pedal in. And we'll try and pick up now. Whoop, not quite so much. Whoa, that really leapt off the ground. I think because we were in effective translational lift, just by virtue of the wind, it really leapt off the ground. But there's my stable hover, sort of. I can use my eyes to just get down to the ground below me, and the view doesn't change. I've been lately using the Tobii eye tracker 5, and the eye tracking is very a helpful addition to me for helicopter flying. But this is something else again, where I can try and keep my head still so it's not moving the video around too much for you. Did I just hit the ground? I think we're okay. And look around inside the headset. Initial impressions, maybe a little bit of glare around the white fuel tank over there. Not when I look at it dead on, but just when I look at it peripherally. I'm using my multifocal glasses inside the Crystal Light. I did try it without. It was actually okay, and I know you're not supposed to really use multifocals inside the headset. There's that tank again. It's not so white from this angle. There we go. We just this is me looking around and not paying attention. Oh, that looks good. Getting a bit fast. Whoa, now we're going to hit the ground if I'm not careful. Look, I think that even though my flying right now is far from perfect, we are experiencing a crosswind from the right of 12 knots. Wow. My glasses for the moment are fitting inside okay, inside the Crystal Light. I would maybe suggest that prescription lens inserts would be better, so that I don't have this multifocal aspect to deal with. Yes. Wow, this is quite something. To be able to take in all of the information, to be able to glance down to my progress above the white line with my eyes, whilst keeping my head still for you. Oh, I need to look at this. Let's back into my parking spot there. Get a bit more free lift there with going into the headwind again. Whoop. Not too bad. Not too bad. Let's see if I can get right on the H. Whoops. Got one. And now 2 skids on the ground. How do we go? Oh, not too bad. It's easier in VR. Oh my god, is it easier in VR. Wow. Wow. That... I mean... Just looking at the fact that I just lined that up perfectly with the R44 next door, and those ones as well, not too bad. Just suggests that even though I was going backwards into that spot, I just had the situational awareness that I would not have had with the 2D. This has been quite an experience. Quite something. I'm I'm still getting used to it, but this new sensation is really quite an incredible experience. It really is. And it's now been 2 weeks since that last part of the video, as I try to get things sorted out. More on those getting everything dialed in just a moment. I want to talk first about motion sickness. This is I rediscover all of the world's amazing highlights all over again. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's just incredible in VR. It really is. Just watching all of these beautiful models sailing by, just so great. Just want to talk about motion sickness, and motion sickness is a thing. When people get into VR for the first time, or maybe with a new VR headset, it will not suit everyone. I didn't get motion sick on the first day, but I did, even despite limiting myself to sessions of only a couple of minutes each, then maybe up to about 10 minutes or 15 minutes just to do that first video. Look at this Sphinx, how great is that? I felt fine on that first day, but on the second day, I just felt a bit off, I think, just with motion sickness, so it's a lot for your brain to get used to. People try different things. Some people like having the fan blowing on sort of the face, so simulates that idea that you actually are making forward progress, so it helps the brain just to adjust to the VR. Everyone will have their own system that they use there, I think. I feel like now that I've been using this for a couple of weeks, on and off, feel like I have adjusted to it. You still get moments, maybe you're doing like a low altitude run, something like that, where you might overdo it a bit and flip the plane around a bit and then get some odd sensations. So just be careful with yourself. And I'll talk about the technical issues or technical barriers I had to overcome in just a minute. So I'll get down. This was not a smoothest of approaches there at the last moment, but let's just get ourselves down here. Right onto the H. One skid and then two. Yeah, VR really makes your targeting so much easier. It really does. Well, hello Berlin. About time I did some more flying in Germany. This lovely morning scene is just what I need to show you this part of what it's like in VR, and it's great. So, what technical hoops have I had to jump through to achieve this frame rate of, what am I at now? I'm just looking down to my frame counter here inside the headset. 31 frames a second right now. A little bit low. At the pyramids I had it up to about 40 to 45. And so what have I done to achieve that with my very mid-range, really, AMD setup? I chose to have the headset itself, which you can control in the Pimax Play app, on high quality, because I didn't quite like what it was doing when it wasn't rendering all of its very high number of pixels. So 2880 by 2880 times 2. It's a vast number of pixels that the graphics card has to render when you are using VR. Huge. So you're going to have to sacrifice some of your precious quality settings. Now you might notice that foveated rendering is on. That's where the highest detail is reserved for the middle of your field of view. And so if I were to come down here to the airspeed, you can see that's very sharp right there, but if I just let it go off into the periphery of my vision, hopefully you can still see it about now, you will find that it goes lower resolution. So what it does is it concentrates its rendering power in the middle and gives you lower resolution on the edges, which actually, it probably doesn't look great on YouTube, but you don't really notice it too bad when you're in the headset. And you can change in MSFS 2024 the width of that, let's say, sweet spot in the middle and how many pixels are going to be rendered at the higher resolution. A couple of issues. One is that in MSFS 2024 SU4 beta, whenever I was flipping to VR, it would basically crash to desktop almost instantly. And I thought, oh, have I got a dud here? What's happened? And I still don't really know. It's some sort of interaction between my system, my drivers, and MSFS 2024 SE4 Beta, and the Pimax Crystal Light. So, but what I discovered is that it only happens when you're in the main menu, when you try doing it from the main menu. Brilliant. Look at this. And so if I just got into the flight first and then switched to VR, fine, not a problem. So that was one issue. Another one was that I'm getting 36 frames now, just with the odd little stutter just as scenery comes in and out. Another issue is that just once in a while, and it happened in the setup for this particular flight in Berlin. Oh, look at my speed. Goodness me. It's quite a skill. Flying, remembering all the things you want to say about your headset experience, and also monitoring things, important things like your airspeed. Yes, so I find as I set up this flight, and just once in a while elsewhere, that my half to 80% of my frame rate is just lost. It will just be incredibly slow. And so what I need to do is to restart the headset from the Pimax Play app in Windows, and it comes right. So then I get all my frames back again. So I haven't quite figured that one out. If you know, please leave a comment. Doesn't happen all the time, and it takes about a minute to fix when it does happen. So I need to get out of VR, I need to get back into Windows, I need to restart the headset using the Pimax Play app, then I need to wait for it to come back on, then I need to switch back to VR again. It takes about a minute, and then I get all of my frames back, which is what I want. So those are the two main things that I've come across, and like there's been moments of frustration, but then on the other hand, as I said, you won't be dialing this in instantly. It will take time to get all the settings right. I was updating my drivers, updating my BIOS, because I think that was contributing to some other problems I was having. Get all those things right, and then you will find you're getting a much better experience, and you'll do further refinement on all of your settings. It takes a while, but then the reward is this. I mean, I'm getting a bit close to that building. I'm just enjoying sailing around the city of Berlin. How wonderful. And it really is glorious. VR is a fantastic experience. It's great for helicopter flying. I highly recommend it. And if you did want to choose to upgrade or get a new headset, you have an option here to use the affiliate link. So I might earn a commission on that, but that would of course help this channel, and I would be grateful. But if you did choose that, you'd get a 3% discount, and I'm doing this at a time where there might be some promotions running on from Pimax. So just follow that link, get into the Pimax website, and see what you can get that suits your budget. So yeah, if you're interested in a Pimax Crystal Light or a Pimax Crystal Super, which I have not tried yet, you can use that affiliate code in a way that might help out this channel, which would be terrific. And I'll see you in the virtual skies. You won't know yourself. Once you get used to it, you will find that your helicopter landings become much better, that you find it easier to get right on the center of the helipad, that you find it easier to judge your approaches and come in at the right speed and the right height. And you'll feel like a better pilot. And you'll just have this experience of just looking around. It's so great. It's so great. So those are my first impressions of flying with the Pimax Crystal Light. I'm really enjoying it. I hope you will too. And I hope I'll catch you in another video soon. There will be a full review coming up for the Pimax Crystal Light. I'll probably give myself another 2 or 3 weeks, I think, even after this point, to get further comfortable with all of the settings and dialing in the quality. And I hope I'll catch you for that one or another one real soon. See ya.